indicate that not enough South African children are being vaccinated, and to those who are immunized, the report says the immunity does wane over time, leaving large portions of our adult population at risk of contracting potentially severe or even fatal illnesses. To help us understand vaccination in both children and adults, I spoke to pediatrician Dr. Strawn. Tell us, why is immunization such an effective public health intervention across the globe, and just take us through some of the benefits briefly.
So with immunization, what you're doing is you are protecting children from preventable diseases, from infectious diseases that spread very quickly between children. And some of these infectious diseases, measles for example, has a very high mortality rate. So in developing countries as high as 1 in 5 children, and in developed countries 1 in 200. Very high mortality rates. Tetanus, diphtheria, polio. And what vaccines does is protects not only the individual, but it protects the entire population against these illnesses that obviously cause severe morbidity and mortality.
How are we doing currently in South Africa when it comes to vaccination coverage, and what are some of the barriers when it comes to extending such reach?
So in South Africa at the moment, we're at around about 80% coverage. Now, the importance of this is that for vaccines to be completely effective at community level, you need to have about 90% of your population in every district of your country vaccinated against these diseases. So the idea is that when that live virus appears or bacteria appears in one person, that the person standing next to them is protected. And the person standing next to them is protected. So that virus has nowhere to go. So if you, that's kind of what we're aiming for, around about 90%. In South Africa, if you're looking at the first set of vaccines that children get around about 6 weeks of age, we're sitting well above 90%. If you progress down the line to the second and third vaccines, we're sitting at below 90%. And this is the figures coming from the National Department of Health. In Africa as a whole, it's a little more bleak than that. South Africa is not a shining light in the African community. There's a lot of work to do in South Africa. The main issue is, if your vaccine coverage is not at the levels I've mentioned, you're always at risk of having an outbreak, like the measles outbreak.
Or like the diphtheria outbreak we had last year.
So diphtheria we did, in fact, in KwaZulu-Natal last year. And that really was because in a small section of a district, there were sufficient children who were not vaccinated, that when the live bug is around, and people must understand that just because you don't see the illnesses doesn't mean the bugs are not around. If we stop vaccinating, these things will come back and bite us. So a few children in a small area were not vaccinated, and what they were missing out on was their booster vaccines.
All right, and you've just preempted my next question. How do we handle the risk here? Because of concern now is immunity that's waning as one gets older.
Exactly.
So are we seeing a large portion of the adult population who's currently at risk, and how do we handle this risk?
Right. So no vaccine is 100% effective. Okay,
right.
so if you're having a vaccine that's 90% effective, you have a natural 10% of your population that are not immune, even though they've been vaccinated. All right?
All right.
The next thing is that what vaccines do to your immune system is they give it a chance to remember that bug. So they remember the reaction that they've developed that would kill off that bug. And that reaction that we call immunity does not remain lifelong. So booster vaccines are important. Now, what does that mean? So booster vaccines are at 18 months of age and at 6 years of age, and should be at 12 years of age. There are illnesses around, like whooping cough, for example, where adults, if they've not had a booster vaccine in their adult life, are probably not immune to whooping cough either. So you, for example, if you've not had a booster in the last 10 years, you're not immune to whooping cough, as I would not be if I had not been vaccinated. So booster vaccine. So the simple thing is, our immune system needs to be reminded. And the reminder is that booster vaccine. And vaccination and protection is not just something that needs to be done in childhood, although that's obviously where the basis is. Why? Because these diseases that we are trying to protect against cause most devastating illness in the young children. So we need, as adults, to be protected, because we end up being the carriers that infect the young children who are either too young to be vaccinated, or have some illness that they've not been able to be vaccinated, or in whom the vaccine hasn't taken complete effect.
Well, the